Hello, Kylie and Amanda. I'm going to take a look at your work. Okay, this is definitely an infographic. I am questioning these icons though. Are they something that you created? Of course, you want to create your own work in here because this is an illustration class. And if you don't, the school considers that plagiarism. So if you didn't, you got to get in there and get it done yourself. All right, so yes, this is an infographic. I can suggest taking off the drop shadow and just rethink this background. It's super hard to read decorative type in paragraph form to begin with, and it's real hard to read it here at all. The dark drop shadow there doesn't really help it. I'll have to zoom in really close to take it in. So just you can imagine, I don't know who your audience is exactly, but I would use more of a simple, well, if you're going to use a gradient, I would use a serif font. It would just make it easier to read. However, if you revisit that, you could use a sans serif to keep a more modern look. So otherwise, just want to be consistent with placement. So I'm wondering why the circle is right here, but then this one is at the end of the line. Just really think about the layout and develop a system for repeated things. So also think about the composition. All right, so this little speaker thing is pointing to, let me make this a little smaller so I can see it. So it's pointing right here. Consider perhaps being consistent with the spacing and do a ½ inch of spacing before the paragraphs start. And then to make it super clear that's a speaker, perhaps you can put the icons at the end of the line. You could put the icons, to the left of the type. This is a big water drop, water resistant, Gorilla Glass. This dragon, in the big dollar bill. Maybe also think about, do you really want the dollar bill to be the most prominent piece on the page? It's also green, so it does a nice job of starting the viewer out with the composition, but at the same time, it just, because there's 3 pieces of money behind it, and it's right under the word Sony, it makes me think this phone's probably pretty expensive. So really think about that. Think about the logo placement and the readability. My final suggestion is consider putting 1 or 2 lines of explanation underneath the headline. That's considered, subtext. It introduces the viewer into the graphic. All right, Kylie. This is very vibrant. It definitely looks like an infographic. It's nice that you went long. Let me see. Okay, there's another page in here. Sorry. This is beautiful. I love this. This is a complete turnaround from the other page. Again, if you didn't create these illustrations, you better resubmit because they could be considered plagiarism. If you did create them, fantastic job. You should definitely go into illustration. The feather in particular has a lot of charm and it's very well done. But, is this an infographic? It's probably more of a layout, but I'll count it. Optimal battery. Perhaps because these are such large sentences, you do want to use sentence case. They don't really look like bullet points, so you want to put in the sentence. And then I would also recommend, because you've got this gray behind the type, push the type color closer to black. It'll just be easier to read. All right, and then also to complete it, consider, a small line of type or a website. Give it a nice balance. I didn't know Sony had watches. Okay, so yes, this looks like an infographic. I don't think you need drop shadows. It's definitely not a contemporary look. It looks kind of cool, but drop shadows were done like crazy when software first came out. So now they have kind of a dated look. They're fun to do when you're doing a design because instantly it brings them to life. But honestly, it's not a contemporary look, so consider taking them out. Also in this context with the black on the super vibrant red, it gives it kind of a spooky feeling. a little bit horror movie, especially with those little people. And then the angle of the drop shadow too is sort of looming. But anyway, you've got the right idea. I like that it's a nice mix of decorative and informative. I do think, though, a condensed white font on a vibrant red background is hard to read. So, and you've got it throughout. I think the viewer could take in a little bit of that as introductory type, as subtext. But for type to be really legible throughout, consider a normal or Roman style of the typeface. All right, so this is just information, it's decorative information. Again, if this is clip art, you better take it out because in an illustration class it's considered plagiarism. But otherwise, 50 years of increased revenue. So this is just decorative. It doesn't really mean anything. See if you can actually employ this many people. So this is a random assortment of type. See if you can take some of this content and actually make a graphic out of it. Okay, again, beautiful work. You can't really read that though. Even on the shiniest, most beautiful magazine, I think it would be hard to read that type. I do think it's a great idea though, and I think you probably want to take away any sharp edges and really think about that shape and make it charming and appealing. Make it more curvy and rounded and fun. And then all those other things I said, try to put in real graphics. Think about legibility and definitely take out any clip art. All right, let me know if you have any questions.